What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 4, Episode 9. And it's called Chapter 66, Tangerine.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our MVPs, our LVPs of the episode. So be sure to stick around for that.
We also have our contest going on right now for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, just rate and comment on your iTunes page and you'll be entered in the draw. We are extending this contest to the end of Riverdale's Season 4. So make sure you guys get a little bit extra time to enter, and we will draw a name at the end of the season. And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay,
we got a lot of commentary on Twitter, so be sure to stick around for that at the end because I think a lot of people had questions about this episode.
For sure. I mean, it was a season. It was a mid-season finale, so I'm sure it was left with a lot of cues, a lot of questions. What did you think of the episode?
It was okay.
Uh-oh.
It was okay.
Whenever NB answers a question like that, it's like, she did not like it.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either, especially coming off of last week's episode, which was so strong and it was so good. Which I didn't think it was going to be at the same level. It's just some of the things I'm just questioning now, I think. And I think a lot of people are too. So it's kind of leaving me with a meh opinion of this episode.
Yeah, I think that in terms of, I always kind of get, because they're the ones that say, we have a mid-season finale coming. They're the ones that set us up with this feeling that it's going to be like this. They shouldn't hype it up. They should not hype it up.
They should just say it's going to be the shittiest mid-season finale, guys. I mean, we could not think of anything.
I don't want to say that it was the shittiest mid-season finale I've ever seen, but don't hype it to the point where I'm just like, oh shit, because I didn't get that oh shit moment.
No, I mean they should hype it up and say it's going to be the shittiest one, and then it will think it's the best thing ever because they hyped it up so low. But they hype it up crazy, and then you're you have all these expectations, you have all these questions that you think are going to be answered, or and it's kind of you're like meh.
Yeah, I have a similar feeling. We'll talk about it as we go through the episode, but there's a lot of questions that were answered but not really answered. There's some storylines that were closed up, which I'm happy about. So it'll be interesting to see.
And by some, you mean one. So.
One. There's only one. Okay, so we'll start right off. So I want to say this because I noted it when I watched the episode again last night. And it doesn't have, this episode starts with I don't want to call it a cold open, but there's no intro of Jughead narrating the opening in this episode. I don't know if you noticed that.
No.
And the last time this happened, or similar to the last time this happened, was when he fake died in the end of season 2, where the episode where he fake dies doesn't have his opening. So do you think that there's a connection there? Do you think it's just they're forgetting about the fact that he's writing this book? Maybe this chapter is irrelevant to his story. What did you think of that?
No, I would have liked to think that they're connected and they did that on purpose last time, but I feel like they didn't do that on purpose. And I felt like you made a really good point, but I feel like even the writers didn't even think it through in that way,
Yeah, I always wonder about these formulas and these templates that they always set up, because they obviously do it for a reason. So when they do leave it out, I'm always wondering why and if there's any relevance to it. But yeah, anyway, so it goes right into him doing his submission. He's reading his submission at school in front of everybody, and right away Mr. DuPont says, "You got the ghost writer position, yo, congratulations, let me write up the contract."
Yeah, what did you think of that? Did you feel like it all happened really quickly?
I mean, I did for a second, and then I said to myself, why do I want the storyline dragged out even more? It's not necessary. I think that it was fine coming to where it came to. Yeah, what did you do? You think that it was too fast?
I just almost feel like, considering what we know now from at the end of the episode, how like this is basically like the Skull and Bones kind of like thing, secret society. I do feel like the way it all went down was really quick, and it almost felt like the teacher didn't even like read the other people's like submissions. He was just like, Jughead, you're gonna win. Even the guy was like, did you want to read my thing again? He's like, no, I'm good. He's like, Jughead won. So I definitely feel like if they do in the end, hint that this was kind of like a setup just to kind of get Jughead involved in this whole world, I wouldn't be surprised, like.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. There's obviously something fishy going on. There's a reason why he won this competition. He's obviously a good writer, but I don't know why DuPont is so, like, he hates Jughead so much that he's like, he's inspired by his writing, but at the same time he hates the fact that he's been snooping and thinking that he's a murderer. So I don't know. I did feel like it was kind of shady that he got the position right away and he announced it to everybody right away. But at the same time, I'm like, where's this going?
Like, don't drag it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
don't drag it out.
What else are we waiting for at this point?
Yeah. I really just hope that they, like, I'm just saying this right now, they have the time to make this a good, tight story. If they left anything out, I would be very, very disappointed. But anyway, we'll just leave it at that. So then it cuts to Veronica and Hiram, and they're at the lodge residence at the Pembroke, and it's just the same shit over and over again. And I'm saying this with like the utmost amount of love because I love Hiram's character. We obviously are huge fans of Mark Consuelos, but I just feel like this back and forth dialogue between sassy Veronica and her evil father and this, like, it's just so the same thing over and over and over again. What did you think of them introducing this again?
I think we're going to talk about this throughout the entire podcast because I think I have a lot to say, but I 100% agree with you. Like, it's just for a story that could have been really different and kind of just her own journey with, post-education, like, no, like they've tied her to fucking daddy and this rum empire, and it's just like, it's a big eye roll. I don't know. I'm really over it. I'm like, sure. I want more from Veronica,
And and again, the one thing that Ms. Burble said last episode was stay away from your dad. Don't have any contact with him. Go to school. She didn't listen to her at all.
No, she didn't do anything. She was like, man.
She's like, literally, okay, Dad, what are you going to tell me now? I'm going to go to college. Like, I was when
I saw her at the table, I'm like, literally, I was like, she's still home? Like she's still there? Like,
just move out, man. Fuck. At this point.
Like, move in with your boyfriend. He has his own freaking gym.
Like,
why wouldn't you move in with him?
It very much frustrates me that it hasn't gotten to that point with her yet, because a part of me at this point, I am blaming Veronica. I don't really care about her plights and her daddy is like screwing her life over. I don't feel bad for her, so none of her shit is like making me feel bothered by it. I'm not like, oh, poor Veronica, like I wish that she could have like a better dad. I'm like, girl, you deserve it. You are jumping right back into that shit with your dad and you're dealing with it the way that you deal with everything all the time. Like there's no character growth and character development for her. Anyway.
And it seems like, and we'll talk about this after too, but I definitely do feel like her mission is tied to him, and her mission should not be that. Her mission should be her own life and like what's she gonna do after Riverdale. But instead it's like, I'm gonna have my own rum empire and it's gonna be better than yours. I don't want that for her. Like, I want her to have independence and like create her own path. Why is she so linked to what he's doing already? He already has a rum empire. Like, why do you need rum? Like, do vodka. I don't know, do gin. Like,
listen, actually somebody did make a comment, just as a really quick aside, we'll say it right off the top, that now that the rum business is like, she can't use her grandma's recipe, maybe Cheryl will come in and be her business partner, because that was something that was mentioned, and maybe it'll be like maple rum. Ooh. Anyways, so he's sabotaging her college admissions. Like, she didn't get into her second college, and then he mentions that she has a Columbia interview at some point in time. Anyway, moving on. Archie is at the El Royale, and he's woken up by FP, who finds him, and he looks like he's been stabbed, but he hasn't been stabbed. He's just like hurting. His like ribs are broken or something, and he's sleeping on the couch. And FP basically says like, "Are you the vigilante? Is this you in this picture? You need to stop doing this. Your dad would kill me if he found out that you were doing this still." And Archie said like, Dodger needs to be stopped. He's still in the streets. He's fucking things up. We need to do something about this.
His lines are literally the same every episode.
It's
for the last 4 weeks, he's had the same lines.
Yeah, ever since Dodger has been introduced, Archie's been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And he keeps falling into the same shitty situations. So FP's like, this enough is enough. You can't do this anymore. Like, you're going to die. And Archie, I think he's trying to get FP on his side at this point. He's like, can you please just like help me out here? Cutting to Jughead, he calls Charles to help him find his grandpa using his FBI connections. So Charles kind of gets involved. And this was cute.
Like, we finally see Jughead and Charles together, which like I appreciated because, you know, up until now we usually just see Betty and Charles. So,
but did you feel like this was a random thing for them to like connect to?
Yes.
Like,
I'm trying to give them like one bonus point because I feel like I have very negative points this week. But I did appreciate like seeing them together and like they're brothers, like doing something brotherly, I guess.
Like
I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Because like, even Charles says, he's like, your grandpa? I mean, our grandpa? I was like, oh, true. They are.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, true.
Like, it's so hard for us to make that connection because it never fucking comes up. Then it cuts to Pop's diner and Pop.
Oh my God.
Pop is talking to Veronica and Pop is like, yo, Veronica, I got some like real bad news today.
Like he looks stressed. First of all, he's looked stressed from time, and I just feel so freaking bad for him. Like I feel like he's underpaid. Like
he needs to retire,
and he needs to retire for sure. Like, and he just looks so stressed, you know. And Veronica's like, "Hey, boo, like what's wrong?"
So he's like bummed out because he's like, the Bon Nuit can no longer sell alcohol because the mayor put a stop to it, aka your daddy, and Veronica's just cheese about it. Obviously, she's like, okay, first things first, we're going to deal with this. In the long term, we're going to like fight it. But in the meantime, we're going to throw this crazy party.
For this episode's sake, we're going to throw a party.
Yeah, because I want to sing on the stage later in 45 minutes. And Pop is just like, okay, cool. First of all, I was like, Pop has no say over what's happening in the Bon Nuit in the first place. Yeah, that's so true. Get out of here.
Like, if anything, Reggie would say that. Like, that should have been like a Reggie scene to have. Yeah, that's
I know. True. Anyway, so Pop says something which was fucking jokes, but this is the thing that kind of like takes her like through her next challenge, which is he says, no offense, but your father was not raised right. And Veronica's like, but he was. That's a great idea. I'm going to find his family members. I was like,
what is she thinking about? What are those eyes doing right now?
I'm like, are you kidding me? Pop was the one that made you decide to call his grandma, like your grandma up. Yeah. Like, of all the times that you could have called your grandma to be like,
every single time,
go get your son.
These guys, first of all, I was like, this is so not realistic because, like, no, real talk, like, we would have called our grandmas like from 4 years ago when like our dad did like one fucked up thing. Instead, she calls her like 4 seasons later when her dad has already like sabotaged her entire life.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, it was just funny. Fine. It was just funny that like Pop was the one to be like, he wasn't raised right. Like now Pop says that. Like when the liquor license disappears, he questions that.
Yeah, not when he almost murdered you like 7 times over. Yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, so then it cuts to the Cooper residence and Alice wakes Betty up in the middle of the night because apparently Polly attacked a nurse and she wants to talk to Betty.
Like, why would you wake her up in the middle of the night? Like, just tell her in the morning.
Like, this is not urgent. So, and whatever. They look at the videotape. Like, it's her, Charles, and Alice sitting at the table. She's like, I don't know what's happening. We don't get to see the tape. But she's like, she looks like she's normal. And then she's like, oh, shit. She's really attacking that nurse.
I wanted to see it.
I want to see the tape. So, anyway, so it looks like Polly's attacking a nurse. There's no reason why. And then Charles is like, the crazy thing is the nurse's name was Betty.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the title sequence. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right.
Like, so, guys, I really, really thought we were done with Polly. Like, Polly Pocket. Same. Like, I really thought she was gone, guys.
I didn't even think that she was going to show up in this episode. I just feel
bad for the actress because I feel like they
promised her more.
They just squeeze like every ounce of juice they can from this actress, and every time she probably gets a call, she's like, oh my god, they're calling me, like I'm gonna be like in the episode. They're like, yo, this time like you're gonna fucking eat someone's face off. So like get ready.
You're gonna eat someone's face off, and you're gonna be like strapped to a bed for four
like,
minutes. So
she just can't catch a break. This actress, like.
So anyway, Betty does go visit her at the institute, and Polly's tied up at the bed, and she's like, I don't remember attacking anybody. I didn't do it. I don't know what's going on. So she's like adamantly saying she didn't do it. Betty's like, oh, okay, maybe she didn't do it. Yeah. Then it cuts to like that title sequence, whatever. Then it cuts to Archie, and he's talking to FP about Dodger, and they're looking for him. And Eddie kind of overhears them, like while he's practicing boxing, and he's like, yo, I know where Dodger is. Like, I can find them for you. And Archie's like, no, you stay out of it. Like, we don't need another person getting hurt. Just stay out of it. And then obviously the camera like zooms into Eddie's face, and he's like, I'm gonna go fight somebody, which he does later. Then it cuts to Veronica talking to Abuelita. She's in Riverdale now.
Oh my god.
So they're in the bonding and they're talking, and Veronica's just kind of like laying it down. She's saying how, Hiram's being a douchebag, and he's starting a rum business. But now Veronica wants to start a rum business. But then Abuelita's like, well, I'm down to help you out. I'll give you the family recipe, but also like, how's school? Like, why are you?
I'm glad she said that. This? I'm literally like glad she's the only freaking parent that's like normal.
She's the only person in the world. Like big ups to the grandparents for like just trying to get the kids back on track, because clearly the parents don't give a shit. So, so Veronica says like, don't worry, I'm still trying to get into college, but I'm just trying to figure this out. And she's like, let me just tell you right now, your dad or your son has been doing some shit. So then she lays it all down, and we don't hear it because we don't need to fucking hear it again.
Yeah.
But then it cuts to Charles calling Jughead, and he's like, oh, we found your grandpa. He lives in the woods, but he comes and gets his mail from time to time. Like, it was such a random way to explain it, but that's just literally what he says. He's like,
Did they explain how they found him?
It's just like a mailing address that he goes to like a post office.
Oh, okay.
And he picks it up like once a month or something like that. So whatever. He's like, okay, now I have an address. Then it cuts to Alice talking to Betty. And Betty's like, I really don't think that, Polly did it. She really sounded like she was like very confused. It almost sounds like she was in a bit of like a fugue state. They used fugue like 4 times in this episode.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I'm like, what? What is this word?
Fugue, I think it's appearing. Like... Yeah, it's like some psychology thing. I'm sure we'll get in the comments. But so she's like, there was apparently a phone call before Polly went cray-cray. Maybe that has something to do with it. Charles is trying to track down where the call came from. And that exact moment, the phone rings, and Alice is like, oh, let me go get the phone that we just said it could be happening. Like, wouldn't you think that she would have said, oh, maybe we should just keep an eye on the phones since there's a mystery caller who's trying to kill people.
Let's check our house phone. No.
Like, she literally Alice runs for the phone, answers the phone, grabs a knife, and then tries to attack Betty. Luckily, right before she stabs her with a fucking knife, Betty like snaps and she gets out of her like trance or whatever, which I thought was kind of random.
I felt like that entire scene was just kind of like there for the promo reaction, like
totally
just to make a scene that looked cool in the promo. Yeah, and that was it.
That's all we got from the promo last episode. So yeah, I don't know. And then in this, I put a note down that said like it must be residual shit from the farm, like it's probably Evelyn, and then we find out later that it's Evelyn. So then it cuts to Abuelita. And she walks into the mayor's office, and Hiram's like,
it's like,
Mama!
You hear the smack before the scene even cuts to the scene of them. Like, you heard like the and then it's like, I'm like, what? Who's getting smacked?
It's like slap. So she gets so pissed off at him, she slaps him, and she says that, your father would be rolling in his grave if he found out that you were like doing this to your daughter. I can't believe you. And then Veronica comes up to him, and she's like, in your face, bitch. And she says, I have the recipe, so get ready for my rum, because it's coming. And then it cuts to coming soon to a theater you need. Then it cuts to Archie and Mary, and they're talking at home. And this was a random scene now that like the episode is done. But Apparently someone wants to sell Andrew's construction. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there probably is a connection. We'll talk about it at the end of the episode. But one of the partners, I guess, wants to sell Andrew's construction. Archie's like, I'm gonna fire his ass. Like, no one's gonna take this away from my dad.
He was such a testosterone
I was
jock this episode.
Here's an idea. Maybe spend half your time at the community center, the other half running your dad's
the guy
fucking
was
business.
I think he was a worker, and he was like, I'll buy you guys out. Like, I'm the one working. And he's like, why not? And she's like, hell no, it's my dad's company.
I mean, we haven't seen you. It's been 8 episodes,
there.
and you haven't even mentioned Andrew's construction. So, do you really care about Andrew's construction?
Yeah.
So he gets a phone call. And that moment, he tells Mary, like, no, that's not happening. And then he gets a phone call, and apparently the kids, including Eddie, found Dodger and his brothers or whatever, and they all beat the kids up. And now Eddie's back in the fucking hospital.
So they gave them a weird last name, like the Dickersons or something. So the whole time they're like, the Dickersons are coming here, or like Donaldsons, whatever their weird name is. I'm like, just call him Dodger. Like, it's the same villain this whole time. Like, just say one name.
Just say one name. If it is Dickersons, it makes sense because then it's like Charles Dickens, which is the book. It's all Oliver Twist.
But why would that be linked to Dodger? Because
Dodger is the character from Oliver Twist, which is a Charles Dickens book.
Oh, and he's the villain in that book.
Yeah, basically, he can be seen as a villain in that book. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, Archie gets cheese. He gets cheese in the book.
How does it all end?
In the book, I think that he goes to jail. Like, Dodger just goes to jail, and then Oliver Twist gets to live with his family. Or I think he stays on the streets. I don't know. Or maybe he dies. I don't remember. Whatever. Then it cuts to Betty and Charles, and they put together that Evelyn could be the one who's hypnotizing people because they find out that the phone call is coming from Shawshank or Shankshaw prison, and that's where Evelyn is. Shankshaw prison. And she's probably hypnotizing people using something because it sounds sketchy. It sounds very farmy. So they're like, okay, let me go investigate. Then it cuts to Jughead, and he finds his grandpa in the middle of the woods. And he's like, hey, son, come on in.
He's like, get the fuck off my property. And he's like, I'm your grandson. He's like, oh, true.
Okay, cool. Oh, true. Then it cuts to Cheryl at this house. And I love this scene. It was kind of cute.
It was cool. It was cool, but it was weird.
It was weird because I wasn't sure what was happening.
So theatrical.
She's so dramatic. I love it. So she's out there ready to fucking gas herself, essentially.
If you don't have captions on when Cheryl's in the scene, you're gonna miss all her jokes and
all of the
her
jokes.
Witty banter.
You're not gonna know what the hell's happening because she's basically gassing herself before she fucking dies. And she has all these roach killer things that are being opened. And she's like, farewell, brothers. This is our time to die. I was born in poison. I shall die in poison. And then she fucking sets them all up. There's smoke going everywhere. There's coughing that happens. And then Penelope literally pops out of the closet, trying to breathe. And it cuts back to Cheryl, and she's got a gas mask on.
It was so random, though. Hey. Why would she gas the house? Why would Penelope only come to the living room? Wouldn't she just leave the house? She would leave the front door. I mean,
maybe she didn't know what was happening because she's been hiding in a closet this entire time.
So, yeah, where was she hiding? She's I got you out of the walls. I'm like, what?
I feel like this was one of our theories. We did say, maybe Penelope's spying or something's going on. Because if it wasn't Tony who was doing it, then it must be Penelope.
Does that answer it now? It was Penelope the whole time?
Yes. I mean, it was. She admits to it. So I think that's what it is. So she comes out of the closet and that's weird.
That's weird.
So weird.
That could have been such a good storyline for her and Tony, though. Was some real shit.
The potential that they have for these stories to get so much better are so high, but they're not doing it because they seem high as writers. So then it cuts to Jughead and Grandpa Jones talking, and he's like, so I think that Mr. DuPont stole he offered me this ghostwriting position. I know that, there's some shit that went down with you guys. My theory is that DuPont stole that story from you and ran you out of town or whatever. And Grandpa Jones is like, you don't know all the story. You think you're so smart. And whatever, we get the information a little bit later. But before we get to there, it cuts to Archie talking to FP. And Archie's just so distraught. He's like, this is so fucked up. The kids are all hurt again. I need to do something about this. We need to get rid of Dodger. And FP's like, okay, fine. If this is your only option, I'm going to help you. But after this, we're not doing this anymore. I'm not going to help you with any more crimes. We're going to go beat them up and then we're going to stop. But first, I need to change. So then he changes into a serpent jacket. What did you think of his transformation?
No, I like this. I like the whole thing with Archie and FP and how like FP sort of like acting as like a second father to Archie.
Yeah,
like I did love that
too.
dynamic, and I did like seeing FP back in his like serpent gear. I just
Agreed.
think the way it ended again, I felt like it was going in a really cool place, and then it ended like really freaking weird with like Archie fucking it up as usual. So I kind of felt like he was all for nothing. Like again, like, you know, we're gonna talk about this after, but like
we'll talk about
getting
it after.
like it's just recycling. I just feel like it's just going in circles. So yeah.
So whatever. Staying back in this moment, it shows, you know, FP in a serpent jacket and Archie going against Dodger's brothers, I think, at this point. And they're like, why don't you pick on someone your own size? And so they beat them up, or they have a fight in the middle of the alleyway. And that's how that scene ends. Then it cuts to Cheryl interrogating Penelope, and she's laying out all of the charges. She's like, you tried to kill my friends. You killed my dad. You killed this person. You killed this person. You killed Hal Cooper. So she's laying it all out. And I'm like, Penelope is evil. So can we just move on? Why do you even need to put her on trial at this point? What did you think of the fact that she even had this conversation?
Yeah,
with
no,
Penelope?
you're right. I felt like it was useless. Like, we know how evil she is. We know the fucked up shit that she did.
Like even the scenes later where she's like,
Penelope,
but why?
Yeah, I want to
like,
see Penelope
I
get
don't care.
better. And if I'm not going to start seeing that, I don't care for her to be on screen, because we've seen her in her most evil form last season. So like, I'm over that too.
And at this point, like, anyway, we'll talk about it later. But it cuts back to Archie and FP, and they're, you know, like broing out because they're like, yo, we like fucking did it. I'm so proud of us. I'm like, we're not going to do this again, but like, it was so cool. And as they're about to leave, oh wait, that doesn't happen until later. So whatever, they're just happy about it because they beat them. Then it cuts to Jughead and Grandpa Jones, and you get the full story. And the full story is he was burning out at Stonewall. Like, he wasn't doing well at Stonewall. So he quit, but he only had one story. And the story was the Baxter Brothers story, the original story. And he didn't get it stolen by Mr. DuPont. Instead, Mr. DuPont bought it from him for $5,000, which is nothing. And he's like, after I found out how successful the series was, I got so bitter and I started drinking, and I took it out on your dad and your grandma. And that's kind of why I decided to leave and be by myself. And so then Jughead says, like, Mr. DuPont asked me to be the next ghostwriter. And he says to Jughead, I messed up my life. Make sure you seize the opportunities that you're given. And Jughead's like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. Like, he just leaves it at that, I think. Mm-hmm. And what did you think of that whole situation? The fact that he kind of tells the situation.
Yeah,
and
I mean, we talked about this a little bit too, and we can talk about it more after at the end. But I find his story about that whole thing a little weird, like how he just got bought out for like $5,000. I feel like it was just such a nice little bow on the story, and I'm like, that's not how this shit works. Like,
right.
I feel like there might be more to the story. So
okay,
yeah. Which I'm down for.
I mean, I'm down for that too, but also I didn't really see it being,
because then it's like, what's the point of his grandpa's story? Like, why even bring him back for that? Like, just so that he could say,
what was the point of Abuelita's
hey,
story? To slap Hiram, and that was the end of
true.
it? Like, there's so many stupid things that were happening this episode, introducing so many characters. Like, I just didn't understand why things were happening the way that they were happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so then it cuts to Evelyn and Betty, and they're at the jail, and they're just talking. And this is when you find out that Evelyn admits to it. She says, I'm trying to use the secret hypnosis thing to kill Dark Betty. So everybody that's being hypnotized thinks that Dark Betty is real, and now they're trying to kill her. kill Dark Betty, right?
Lame.
Did you hate it?
I hated it. No. I hated it. I don't get why we're talking to Evelyn again. I don't care. I don't get why we're mentioning the fucking farm again. It's like they're pulling at these little open look storylines and they're like, let's make this work. Her whole thing with like her her childhood and like her dad and like that's fine. Like deal with that. But where's this hypnotism thing coming from all of a sudden? Like what?
Yeah. They did bring it back a little randomly. I will say that. I do agree that it was kind of
why
random.
Now? Like first she has the serial killer gene, then she does the training, then she goes back to her childhood memory of the dog, of the cat, and then she goes back and then she gets get hypnotized and then her like why? So what's happening with Betty right now? What's going on, girl? What like what? Yeah, which story are we gonna go with? You know?
It's true. It's true. When you put it that way, yeah, it's hard. But the one thing that I will say that I do appreciate about Betty, surprisingly enough, considering all the crazy storylines that have been happening for the past 4 seasons, Betty's storyline has been the fact that she's been dealing with her darkness, her innate darkness, her
Having said that,
not God-given, but like born darkness because she has a serial killer gene. There's all these things that have to do with like her own personal darkness because she's such a bubbly, happy character. Yeah. And I loved that. I loved her playing with that darkness and her wearing the like black wig and all that kind of shit and where that kind of went. So I wasn't shocked, but at the same time, I was, I didn't hate it.
Having said that, she's still my favorite part of the show right now. Yeah, I still love her storyline, I think, the most. I think Lily's an amazing actress. I think she sells her storyline the best.
For sure.
For sure, I'm still invested in her part the most. And there's a scene at the end of this episode where like it's one of my favorite moments of I think the show, and I really like the way that kind of led to that scene. So we'll talk about that after. But
okay, we'll talk about
still, like I still like her storyline. It's just like I'm over Evelyn. I'm over the farm. You know, like stop pulling at that. Like that's done now.
Yeah. But anyway, so she basically says that there's a trigger word, and Betty asks what the trigger word is, and the word is tangerine, which is the name of the episode. We find out it has nothing at all to do with the movie that we were talking about in our promo video. Yeah. There was no connection outside of the word. So you say tangerine 3 times and Dark Betty is like you see Dark Betty. So it's like Bloody Mary kind of, but it's Dark Betty. So she says it 2 times, I think, over the phone. And then when she tries to say it the 3rd time, Betty stands up and she's like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, I'm like, Betty, what do you think she's getting at? She's saying it a second time too. Like, just hang up.
Like, hang up the phone and leave. Anyway, so then it cuts to Pop's Diner and FP and Archie are talking. This is when he's like, yo, let's just call it a night. Like, good job, y'all. Let's leave. As they leave, a masked guy comes in.
Guys, it's literally the same shot from season 1, season finale when Fred gets shot. Like it's literally basically the same angle.
Exactly the same. Well, the other side because
it's Pop the other side of the diner.
But he comes in right away and shoots FP. And this time FP is like impenetrable because clearly he's just like, it's fine. I got to go to the hospital, but it's fine. But the thing was like, why is Pops everybody's literally getting shot up at Pops's place. I was like,
they're having a cute moment. Oh, someone's going to get shot.
Never mind. I will say, this is the 3rd time this has happened. This is the 3rd time someone's gotten shot. Remember the 2nd time was when Josie was like, get me the fuck out of this town. When they came in with masks on and they got shot. And it was like that weird episode, Bizarro Dale or whatever. Yeah. It's just, I don't understand. Like, Pops needs to close down at this point. Like, I'm not surprised that Hiram Lodge hasn't been like, you need to shut this place down. It's a fucking crime scene. Anyway, then it cuts to the hospital and Archie's like cheese and he's like, oh man, I just want to go after Dodger. Like, what the hell? He did this. I know that he did this. And then Fangs randomly shows up. This like beautiful child comes back onto the payroll and he's like, hey, I'm back. I'm not in the farm anymore. I'm also a serpent still. And so the serpent still exists. Like, we're not unicorns. And then he's like, yeah, it was Dodger. Like, it was his thing. He confirms it somehow. FP thankfully calls him out and he's like, yo, you shut the fuck up. I'm still mad at you for like ditching us. And then Archie just leaves in like a huff. And then FP's like, stop, don't leave. And I was like, if you're so mad at Fangs, why don't you tell Fangs to go after Archie, or at least like watch over him to make sure that he doesn't get into some shit? Like, why did Fangs have to be in that scene? Can you explain that to me?
I feel like Mad Dog's character, like the actor probably was busy because he's usually that guy. He's usually the guy to be like, yo, like the guy just showed up at the door. Yeah. But now they have like Fangs doing it for like 2.5 seconds.
Because they have it was so stupid. Anyway, then it cuts to Charles and Betty, and they're talking, and Charles says what happened, and Betty says there's this hypnotist thing, and if you say Tangerine 3 times, then Betty gets unleashed, or Dark Betty gets unleashed, and she's kind of curious. She's like, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna try to kill myself? Am I gonna go crazy? What's the thing? And Charles is like, well, let's try it now since you're here with me. And so they say Tangerine 3 times and nothing happens. And I was like, are you guys sure that you didn't just like unleash Dark Betty on the inside when you said it? Like, why would you even like play with that whole like idea? It's fucked up. So then it cuts to Cheryl and Penelope, and she's still on trial. And Cheryl is really coming at this with so much compassion for her crazy ass mom. She's like, yo, like, I want to hate you so bad because you did all these crazy things, but can you please give me one reason to keep you alive? Because you're still my mom and I still need a parent and I don't want you to die. And she says, what's wrong with you? For why? Why do you hate me so much?
For why?
For why? That's like her new quote.
I love it.
Of life. And I love it too. And she basically says, and I don't know if I don't know if I feel like this is a strong enough motive, but she essentially says, you were so happy with Jason after you found him again. I wanted to destroy your happiness with him because I couldn't have that anymore. Why should you? And I was like,
but that's weird because she only
3 fucking seasons, girl.
She only had his dead body in this season.
Well, but that's when all of the shit started happening.
But
right?
she's been evil from time.
I know, but I guess this is like her new mission. Like after she became the Gargoyle King, she's like, let me go home and fuck with your mom, like with my daughter again.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like all of this is dumb. And then she's like, you're guilty for being hateful to your core. And then she's like, okay, fine, just kill me then. And then she's like, you wish. I'm gonna fuck you up in a different way. Tony, go get the chloroform because we're going to drug this bitch up. And I was like, what is about to happen?
What? I'm like, what is going down?
Cut her arms off. Like, is this going to be like a Saw storyline? Like, what the fuck is happening? What are you about to do to your mom? Anyway, yeah. What did you think of her like answering the question? And did you feel like it was like, what did you think? How did
it was okay. Like, I'm glad that Penelope's back because I feel like Cheryl needed something more than just like a dead body and like a doll. So I do think like the rest of the season is going to be I'm hoping that their relationship gets better. I'm hoping that we can like unravel Penelope a little bit more than what we've seen her as, just because like that might be interesting. Like I'm over these parents playing the same freaking like person, like evil, angry, like jealous.
I agree.
Like,
the thing that frustrates me about this though is the fact that she, she's had these moments already. We've already gotten her backstory. We've gotten the fact that
she needs to go to jail.
She needs to go to jail. Like, she needs to be stopped. I don't. There's nothing that can redeem her at this point. What is she gonna do? She killed somebody point blank in everybody's face. She killed Betty's dad.
Yeah, we talked about that too. We said like, there's no way you can come back from that.
There's no way. She's just got to die at this point. And I don't know. Like, maybe she'll die at the hands of Cheryl, and we'll be done with it.
But they can't kill her because every fucking weird thing that happens, they put it on her. Like, they need characters like this that they can just like dump all their weird storylines onto in the end.
Yeah,
and she's that character, and that feels so cheesy. Like,
maybe she can go to like Greendale. Maybe she can go into like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Like,
yeah,
I'm kind of over her character. She'd be good over there. Like, crazy bitch. Whatever. Then it cuts to the Bon Nuit, and Hiram goes up to Veronica and he's like, "Ooh, you look fancy today," and he motions her over to a table that's kind of on the side, and he's like, look over there, look over there, look over there. And so she goes over, and it's this woman named Shoshana Rutherford, and she's the recruiter from Columbia, and she's there to see her business for the night. I don't know. Like Hiram called
She's like,
her
your
up.
assistant called my assistant and we set up a like time to meet. I was like, at a bar on like a Saturday night at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Veronica
also like
says,
I feel like it's like they're throwing shade at Columbia because like they keep using Columbia's name and I'm like, does Columbia even want to be associated with like Veronica Lodge and like this whole fucking show
of Riverdale?
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, Harvard and Yale, do they want to be associated?
True. No, like all of them. Like, that's what I mean. Like all of them. But this bitch from Columbia showing up at a random bar. Like, it's like the worst scenario.
Worst scenario. So,
I didn't like, just before we get into this, like, did you expect a musical number this evening?
I saw. Okay, truly, I didn't. The only reason why I did was because I think I saw a still of Veronica like laid out on a table.
Guys,
I was
guys,
okay, here we go.
There's nothing more that like makes my like soul feel happy than like having an opinion of this show and then I read your tweets and you guys totally agree with what I am thinking and like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You know, with this sequence and we'll get to it a little bit later, but
I mean, it's happening right now because basically
it's happening
she says
now.
it happens.
Starting now.
It happens right now. So right before that happens, she goes and talks to Shoshana and she says, "You know, I'm really sorry. I'd love to talk right now, but I promised I would do a floor show." And I was like, "But maybe you're the boss, so you don't have to do it." Like why
no one's waiting for you.
No one's waiting for you to do this fucking floor show. Like, did you sell tickets for a floor show?
I would have died if Shoshana was like, "Wait, are you like a theater major?" Like, if she asked her that, because it's like, bitch, what the fuck are you
like, why
doing?
are you doing this?
You're applying to like business school, but like you're performing on stage. Like,
and the thing that kind of killed me in this situation too was, what about this scenario was embarrassing outside of the singing? Outside of the singing part, what was Veronica embarrassed about?
Man. Like, it's so ridiculous.
I mean, I whatever. So then it cuts to Dodger and
but wait, can I ask you a question for real? Because this is where the show's flawed. It was all in Veronica's scenes basically and Archie's. But if he's the mayor of the town, wouldn't he just shut down her bar?
Well, I think that's what he's trying to do, right?
But can't he just shut it down? Like, she's underage, first of all. She should not even have access to a liquor license.
It's true.
Oh, how is this still happening?
Listen, guys. We can't get into the logistics of this.
These are the questions that I would want to be answered in a writer's room. Like, if I was a writer, I'd sit there and say, guys, how do we make this logistically work so that people believe this fucking show? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's so far off that I'm like, guys, you guys didn't think this at all. Like, you just started writing things on a page and then that was it. Like, just make it make sense a little bit.
This is what I keep saying about both of these scenarios is if this came out like when they were adults, I'd be like, cool.
Again,
I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like they gave them adult storylines while they're still in high school, which makes us have these questions that are completely valid because, you know, fucking Archie couldn't even pick up his dad's body because he was underage, yet Veronica can run an entire business underage and sell alcohol. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So whatever. We got to move on from this. Like, there's nothing that we can do about it. So then it cuts to Dodger and Archie, and they're in the alleyway and they're about to fight. And he's like, okay, let's do this. And he has a gun, but he's like, let's like fight for realsies, like have like a one-on-one hand battle. And I was like, can we be done with this after this slow motion
he literally
fight?
throws his gun away. I was like, are you dumb? Like, just shoot Archie.
I was like, okay. So while this is happening, of course, like true to, you know, the Riverdale template, while he's fighting, Veronica is singing, so her song starts.
Oh my god, I hated this so much. And again, like your guys' like Twitter like tweets were like, do we really have to see another freaking like Veronica singing / like Archie fight? Truly, it doesn't go. The music's like happy and it's like this like really dramatic like fight scene.
Yeah, it's like, I don't fight. I'm gonna fight now.
Yeah, like okay, you want Saturday night on your fight. I was like, guys, What editor thinks that this goes good together? Like, please.
I don't know what's happening. I was like, can we like
stop?
Truly, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to end first. Was it the fight scene or her singing? Like both of them were so awful.
The only way this ends is Archie getting killed. I'm down. Like I'm ready. I'm prepared for that.
If we no longer have to see a singing fighting montage ever again, and it has to do with Archie dying, then so be it. Like I just can't. I can't do it. And of course, here because Kevin tried to be her back.
I like that. I actually like that. It was
did
cute.
Not like that.
I was like, thank you for giving him 1 ounce of something decent.
He didn't get anything in the therapy session, yet he got 2 lines of a song.
Press the keyboard for 2 seconds.
Reprioritize Kevin's character. Why are we doing this to him? He doesn't deserve this. So at the end of all of that, Archie beats the shit out of Dodger like he's about to die. And even the mom is like, stop hurting him. You're going to kill him. And Archie screams at her and says, I told you the next time I see him, he's not going to be able to walk after I'm done with him. You guys never come back here or I will literally kill you. And as he says that, the kids all were like waiting as a group in the back behind him.
Yeah.
And they're like, Archie? And Archie is like, oh shit, they saw me beating this guy up and now I'm embarrassed. So whatever, he just feels bad. And then it cuts to the Bon Nuit again. And I guess everybody's leaving because the show's over. Hiram is like, just as an FYI, everything's getting shut down. And P.S. the rum that you want to make has already been patented. So you can't even use that recipe anymore.
Oh, my God.
So then I was like, okay, so truly the purpose of Abuelita was nothing. Zero reasons.
But also,
why
I was like,
introduced.
thank you for someone to actually legally think about this. Like, someone got a patent. Thank you.
Patent.
Thank you.
Patent. But can you patent a?
Yeah, I think
rum?
you can. Like a recipe. Yeah.
It's like 3 ingredients, isn't it? Like,
no, I'm sure
the
way they process it. I think
they
the
can. Processing
I'm sure.
Power or whatever. Anyway, whatever. So she can't do it anymore, which also, again, like I said, leads me to it was someone else's theory actually, and I was like, that makes sense. That Cheryl and this
that might be cute.
This will be Cheryl and her business idea. Like they're gonna take him down with like a different rum or brandy or something. And then he also says, "Have fun with your recruiter. She's like cheese at you now. Like good luck trying to explain yourself after that crazy ass dance that you just did." And then it cuts to, and that's what I mean. I was like, what was so wrong about the fact that she was performing and doing all those
why
things?
Is that so bad?
Why was that so bad? I guess
because she owns a bar, but she's a businesswoman, so like, what?
But
the
she's
F?
a businesswoman,
yeah.
So like, yeah, like I don't get it. I didn't understand why like Hiram was trying to like embarrass the shit out of her. Also, Veronica decided to do that dance without him telling her to do it. So she embarrassed herself.
Exactly.
Like you did not get into Columbia because you did that dance. Then it cuts to Betty and she's like having a nightmare. And then she sees her younger self and her younger self says, "Are you here to kill me like I killed Caramel?" And she's holding like a bloody rock in her hand. And then she looks at her hands and there's like her like Betty, her dark Betty like nails are like back in her hands. Like the Hey Arthur like clench is back. And because she now wakes up and she's like literally outside the front of her door. And she's been like sleepwalking or whatever. So then she kind of freaks out. Then it cuts to FP and he's being visited by Jughead at the hospital. And Jughead's like, oh, just letting you know, like, don't get angry. But I found Grandpa and he told me about his whole story. And FP doesn't really seem terribly bothered by all of it, which is like, okay, cool. I guess like nobody really cares. But essentially, Jughead just says, I know that you guys have a bad history, but he's kind of cool and I think he's kind of come around. Did you want to see him? I can bring him over. And FP basically says, I don't really trust that he's going to be around, but I can't really stop him from coming to see me because I'm in a hospital and I can't leave. So if he wants to come, then he can come. Then it cuts to Cheryl and Penelope. And Penelope wakes up and she is in the bunker. I'm glad they're able to use that set again because clearly it's a very elaborate set with like the millions of candles that are in there. Like, why did you have to light every candle that was in there? So Cheryl basically says you need solitude and you need time to figure your life out. And Penelope just like she's stuck in there. So she's basically like Khaleesi's dragons in season 4 of Game of Thrones. Like she just has to like put her away in a corner.
Good reference.
She's being reckless. I do miss that show very much. But anyway, so Cheryl actually even makes like a final look. She like looks back at Penelope and she's like, figure it out, bitch. And then she like walks away. So is the idea that Penelope is going to be down there for indefinitely? Like what's happening?
I don't know.
Like, is she going to go down there and try to, like, she basically pulled what Betty tried to do to Alice last season when she kidnapped her and tied her to the bed. Remember? Mm-hmm. So it's like the same, like all the parents just need to go down to the bunker to get therapy essentially.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Charles and Betty explains what happened. And Betty's like, yeah, I had this dream. And I think like Dark Betty's, going back to the memory where she originated. So she thinks that when she killed Caramel, that's when Dark Betty was born. And Charles is like, maybe if you go back to that moment, we can try to get you to, talk through it with your other self. And then maybe she'll be gone. So she does. They do the tangerine thing again. And she goes outside. And before she's about to kill the cat, this time Betty takes the rock away from her. And she's like, stop. Don't do this anymore. And like young Betty says, what am I doing now? And then Betty just says, go play. And she's like, okay, bye. And then that was cute.
I like this moment. I liked it.
But obviously, or do you think that, what did you think of how it all kind of ended? Like, what did you feel?
I feel like I didn't like that it was connected to this whole tangerine thing, but I did appreciate the fact that it kind of like hints at, the way Betty's been dealing with like her trauma and shit through the seasons. And a lot of people do that. Like a lot of people go into like sort of like their childhood memories to like, change something or
for sure.
like, change the way they've reacted to something, in a traumatic childhood memory. So yeah, I like that they did that. Like it makes sense. And it's a good, scene to put in there. It was just like, okay. I just didn't like the way that it was connected to everything else. Because again, like I thought she was dealing with this through like the serial killer gene part, but now it's like this tangerine hypnotism part. Like which part is it? Like why is this all like coming like
why
at the
are there
same
so
time?
many layers?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
But I did like it. Like it was cute how she was like, you mean I can go and play? And she was like, yeah, go and play. Like it was cute. But like the thing that I'm like, it doesn't work that way in so many ways because you still are who you are. You know what I mean? Like unless Dark Betty is hidden and tucked away. No, of course you still are who you are, but like maybe it changed something along the way. Like we're not going to know that maybe until after, but like
True.
Maybe she doesn't have to keep going back to that moment.
Yeah. The one thing that I will question right now is, do you think that Charles knew that she was going to unravel? Like, does he?
I definitely feel like there's something there.
Yeah. Like, because we know that Charles is kind of either playing like double agent or whatever, I feel like everything that he's doing is leading Betty down a dark path and not helping her at all. So it might be masked by like, oh, I don't know, maybe we should try it. But I think he knows what's going to happen and he's trying to fuck her up.
Or like, I think maybe a big part of Charles's character, like I feel like in his own weird way, he's trying to help and like do something good, but it's like in a fucked up way and like it's going to end up really bad. I don't know.
But ever since we saw him with Charles, Chick, I don't know what to think of him. I feel like he's evil.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to the Bon Nuit, and now Veronica's talking to Shoshana, and she apologizes. She says, "I'm so sorry about what you just saw today. I was embarrassed about doing that song too, but the writers made me do it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really. It's in my contract that I have to sing songs, so I'm really, really sorry about it." And the recruiter is like, "It's fine. I didn't really want to be associated with this show either, but somehow I just got roped in." And she says it's fine because Columbia is all about good stories. This seems to be like,
this is a great story. This is written so amazing. The writers who wrote this great story are so amazing. I'm like, guys, really? Shoshana, really? Is this really a good story?
Yeah. And then she's like, what was this story? And Veronica's like, well, let me tell you my story. It's amazing. And I'm like, not really. It's the same story that you had in season 2 and season 3
and season 1
and season 1. So nothing's really changed. Anyway, so whatever, she talks to her anyways, and then it cuts to Cheryl and Tony, and they're talking, and this is a really sweet moment. Cheryl basically says, I think it's time to say goodbye to Jason. She's ready to like leave him behind and kind of close that chapter in her life. I thought that was really beautiful to see because finally Cheryl is getting some closure. So
for sure,
that was good. Then it cuts to Archie, and he's talking to Mary, and he comes home, and he's all beat up or whatever, and he breaks down. He's like, I'm so stupid, Mom. I'm so stupid, Mom. Why am I so angry? I don't know what's going on with me. And she says that, you know, you're mourning, and you're still dealing with the loss of your dad. I'm like, no offense, but he was doing this dumb shit before
it's so
Fred
true.
died. So you can't use that as an excuse. The writers, lies.com, you cannot use that as an excuse for the reasons why Archie's the way he is. It's because you guys wrote him like an idiot. So he says it. Archie does say, he's like, writers, how does this end for me? Yeah. he's basically like asking the writers as he's talking.
He's like, what's the end?
And he says something really sad. He says, I've never felt further from dad than I do now. And I was like, meh.
But like that's the thing, like he has these amazing realization moments, but then like he does the same thing again.
Then he does it again.
So it's very hard to sympathize with him because I'm like, bro, like you're talking real right now, but like watch next week, like you're gonna go fuck it up again.
He couldn't even last one episode when Miss Burble said stop fucking fighting people. He couldn't finish one episode without doing something stupid. So then it cuts to Jughead and FP talking in the hospital, and Jughead's like, well,
yeah, he like walks back,
Grandpa's
like,
gone.
We lost him again.
Like, burr, burr, burr. He ran away. So he's like, whatever, I'm gonna sign the contract that Mr. DuPont gave me. I think it's time for us to let go of the past and just move on.
For sure.
So for him to say it's time to let go of the past, do you really think that Grandpa Jugs is gone?
No, I think we're gonna see him again.
Based on your theory, it sounds like he's probably going to come back.
Yeah.
Do you think that the situation is that maybe they couldn't, like Mr. DuPont maybe couldn't find him and now he found him, so then he's going to try to kill him?
Something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah.
I don't know. I am over it, and I do think it's time to let go and move on from the past.
If that's the case, I'm sorry. They had the lamest storyline for that grandpa. Like for the fact that FP didn't even get to talk to his own dad. Like that's so stupid.
True. It's true.
It just feels so unfinished. Like I can't accept that.
All right. Well, hopefully you're right, and we get a little bit more. Hopefully.
You never know. After season 3, you just don't know what they're gonna do.
So then it cuts to Stonewall, and he's signing the papers. He's got this next level elaborate ass signature where he puts a crown on top of the F and the P.
Down.
I was like, chill. And then he gets a letter like slipped under the door, and it says, meet us in the woods. So then the Harry Potter gang, aka like all of the kids from fucking Stonewall, come and they initiate him. They're like, congratulations, you're a part of the Quill and Skull. And he cracks open a skull, and then he gets the pin, and then he makes this like mischievous smile, like he's happy, but it's the same smile that he made when he got the serpent's jacket in season 1. He's like, I'm happy, but also like intrigued, but also like these guys are creepy. So I don't know how he feels. How do you feel? Like, what is Jughead feeling right now?
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's a good question. It's a very good question. Because, like, yeah, he's been tormented by these people for months, but then like joining this society too. So I feel like, and in the movie The Skulls, kind of, not to give it away, obviously, but there's this inner battle of like, this is an amazing feeling being a part of something really cool and really secret, but also it's shady as fuck. So, right. I think he might be dealing with that, hopefully, because that might be interesting to play with too, right? Like seeing a different Jughead that sort of accepts the things that come with being a part of this society, but then also like fighting against who he really is at the core.
Right. Yeah. I guess we haven't really gotten that 100% yet from his character, at least. Then it cuts to Cheryl, and she calls Veronica, and she's like, I'll be right there. And then it cuts to Sweetwater River, and they're doing this, like, once again, I'm doing a Game of Thrones reference, and they send him off into the Sweetwater River on a rowboat,
and they freaking catch him on fire. I'm like, bro, this is so dramatic, guys. It's like, what's happening? Game of Thrones.
And so
oh my gosh, she should have done the bow and arrow.
She should have done the bow and arrow, but I feel like I feel like Game of Thrones maybe like wrote that.
But she knows how to do archery.
She would have been able to do it right away.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's the sad like Titanic moment. Yeah, whatever.
And like Madeline was like, her acting was on point. Like she was crying the entire time.
And it was beautiful. Like, you know, she's wearing her white dress. Like, it really brings you back to episode 1 of season 1, you know, back into the same attire. It has the core 4 there.
I just can't believe it's taken like 4 years to like
4 fucking years
really put her brother to rest, you know?
Yeah, like actually. Yeah. And she says something to Tony at the very end. She says, he was a really good brother. I wish you could have met him for real. Yeah. And I was like, brr, that's so sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
Then it cuts to Archie at the El Royale, and he's doing paperwork or fake doing paperwork or whatever. And some guy comes in, and he's like, hey, my name's Frank. I'm your dad's brother. I'm like, oh no. And right away I wrote it in my notes because I was like, NB literally said,
guys,
because like in episode 2 or episode 1 of the season, when Mary kind of took the helm, like there is a line that NB says, and she says, I'm so happy that Mary is the character that is gonna be his parent, because sometimes in most cases they throw like a long lost uncle or a long lost brother, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta talk to NB about this because this is some bullshit.
Guys, I swear we're not writers for the show. Like I swear to God we're not. We should be, because the amount of shit that we like say and then it happens, I'm like, are they like high key like listening to us? But I don't know how I feel about it. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're gonna make it work with Frank. I still find it weird, and a lot of our Twitter comments said the same thing. They're like, bro, like, how do you not know you have an uncle? Like, what the, like, why would Fred be so shady that like he hid his own brother? Like, what's the excuse? But like, maybe we're gonna obviously find that out. So.
Like, unless he's like a piece of shit guy.
I could see that.
There's no reason. But there's no reason for even, of all people, Fred Andrews to lie about it.
Yeah, like
it's very
You're telling
weird.
me Archie's entire life, Fred never once mentioned, like, I have a brother. That's so weird.
Unless it was so, like, unless there's some storyline where, you know, maybe there was like a fight for Mary.
For sure, I could see that. Yeah.
There's some drama there.
This is the thing, right? Like, someone in the show has to know his background, otherwise he's just a brand new character. Like so she still needs to know where he's rooted from and like his origin story. So I definitely do feel like you're right. Like it might be like oh my god, like I loved both brothers, Frank and Fred, and I don't know which one to choose, and I choose the safe one, Fred, and then I still left him for Chicago. Like it's gonna be like that. I just solved it. That's the whole season, guys. Don't even watch the show. I was having an affair
in Chicago with Frank. That's the real storyline. Mary's gonna be like, you're here? I told you to stay in Chicago. But I will say, from far away, I didn't get like a super close-up shot, but he's pretty cute, so I'm not that mad about it.
Yeah, I was watching.
I was like, he's got a beard, and I'm into it. He kind of looks like a lumberjack. So then it finally ends off with the final scene, which is Betty in bed, and she looks into the mirror, or before she gets into bed, she looks into the mirror and she says like tangerine, 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 and then it cuts to
Clementine.
Alice downstairs, and
Imagine.
Alice hears a smash upstairs. So then she goes upstairs, and Betty's going back into bed. And Alice is like, what the fuck just happened up here? And Betty's like, nothing. I'm just going to like tape up my bloody hands because I just wanted to make sure that Dark Betty was gone forever.
So weird.
I was like, okay, so clearly Betty's being weird.
Or is she not gone?
Yeah. Well, what did you think of that? Did you feel like she unleashed Dark Betty?
I don't know, man. It was so weird. Like, I didn't understand why she had to break the mirror. Like, she's punching herself? Is that what it is?
If we want to go like Ghostbuster style or like a ghost story style, like maybe the good Betty got trapped in the mirror and now like the evil Betty is on the outside.
Ooh, I
but
like that.
We're not doing this is not a supernatural show, so I can't imagine that that's what happens. And then she breaks the mirror, so then like the good Betty can never come back.
Why are we still talking about Dark Betty?
I know.
Like this is what I keeps like going back to. Like we've done the Dark Betty thing.
We did say we wanted Dark Betty back, but like not this way.
Like I wanted the Dark Betty with the black wig. Like
yeah,
that was funnier. This isn't funny.
This isn't funny, guys. Because the final scene is, it says 4 weeks later, and it shows Jughead on the ground in the woods, and he dead. Because Archie looks up and he's like, he's dead. And then he says, what did you do, Betty? And then it
Veronica's
cuts
like,
to Betty.
Bitch. And then it cuts.
And then Betty's holding like a bloody rock, and she looks like terrified. And that's how the episode ends. The gag. Were you gagged?
Definitely not gagged. I don't believe this shit for a second.
Okay.
I don't believe this shit for a second.
But what's going on then?
I think
what's happening?
I think he probably like Archie and Veronica probably just caught Betty in the act of like fake killing him, and then she's gonna have to be like, by the way, like he's really alive, like don't worry about it.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Why? Do you think Jughead's dead? Like actually?
Yes.
Okay, so
I truly think that Jughead's dead.
Okay, that's it. Then you think he's dead and I don't think he's dead. And that's it. That's all there is to it.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's it. Because I don't think they're gonna kill him off. And if they do kill him off, I'll be lit. Like don't get me wrong. Like I'll be excited because they actually did something risky and like unique. But I don't think they're gonna do that because that's not Riverdale writers. So.
See, the only reason why I'm going back on what I said in the beginning of the season to say that Jughead is actually dead is because of the fact that they revealed him dead way, way, way too early. If we saw his dead body at the mortuary, or if we saw his dead body now for the first time, I'd be like, oh my fucking God, they actually killed him. But because we saw him in episode 4, I have so many... Like, it's making me start to feel that they either have no idea how to pace out one of these flash forward shows. Like, they never watched one episode of How to Get Away with Murder, so they have no idea how to do it. Or they're doing it so you can feel like you're not, like it's not going to happen. Like, it's not real. Because there's so many theories around the fact that these flash forwards are all, a part of his story, and it's a fake story, or it's a fantasy, or this, and this. There's just so many things that people are saying about it that... I do understand why people don't feel like it's the real thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did say like, okay, it's over for him. It just it's not giving me the same feelings that I felt when we saw him walk out of the woods, like FP walked out with his dead body in season 2. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get that same like dramatic, like, oh fuck, oh no, what's gonna happen, like freak out, go on the internet and see if like what people are saying. I didn't have that feeling. So if I'm not getting that feeling, then I don't think anybody else is as gagged. So if the writers are trying to gag us, then they're doing a really bad job. I don't know. Let's get to some conversations that happened through this episode. You said that there were some things that were happening on Twitter.
Yeah, so we got a few comments. At Black Dagger 55 says, so Fred has a brother that no one knew about until right now. Well, or at least cared to mention. Also, what's going on with this Quill and Skull initiation? Thanks to both of you for doing this podcast. It always brightens up my day. That's so cute.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
no, for sure. Like the Fred brother thing, like it's I hope it goes somewhere really interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know.
I know.
At CHONI 5 on it, Cammy needs to stop singing. I died.
That's some shade.
They should just bring back Josie, because that performance by Kevin and Veronica was woeful. Fight scene and musical performance overdone. So predictable. Definitely agree 100 times.
I mean, guys, like, we all feel the same way.
That whole Tangerine stuff was foolishness. The core four didn't have to be with CHONI during that Jason burial scene, and Hiram is pissing me off. Why does he hate Veronica so much? I think the real question is, why does Veronica hate Hiram so much? Like, why do they hate each other this much? Like,
she doesn't hate him.
It.
She's got daddy issues.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all it is. But my question is, why do the writers hate Veronica so much? What did Cammy Mendes do to you guys? Like, that you're giving her the storyline?
So true.
We have Postmaster Radio saying the time travel thing in Betty's Tangerine, Jug's initiation into the society, and is Betty's dark side really gone? Is a flash forward scene messing with us because I don't want to think Betty killed Jughead?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's dead, and I definitely don't think they're gonna make Betty kill Jughead, because then you would lose a major character and you would hate a major character. So I think that's way too risky for them to do. But
for sure.
Yeah.
And also we got one from at Becca Sarah Coffee. She says, Archie is just stupid. Is Jughead serious? Only talking to his older brother because he needs help. Archie, you should call the police now. You're hurt. I don't know if Polly hurt someone because we didn't see anything. Veronica, stop talking to your dad. This is getting annoying. You going to get rejected from everything because your dad is the mayor. And then she gave us some MVPs and LVPs. Should we do hers before we get into ours? Yeah, let's do it. Her MVP was Cheryl and Betty. LVPs, Penelope and Archie. Her best line is Heather. Oh, I think she might have written this wrong, but she says he gets the funeral that he deserves. And then best moment is Hiram's mom slapping him, and her WTF moment is the guy shooting FP.
Oh yeah, for sure.
At Pops. Yeah. And I think that is most of our comments from this
Should we do
episode.
Ours?
Let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment, I think, is gonna go to Cheryl's Jason funeral. 4 seasons later, at Sweetwater River, it just took me back to the pilot episode. Yeah. And I think like a lot of this episode was like putting the past in the past. And I think it was just beautifully done with Cheryl's character, and like her finally coming to terms and being like, I want to put him to rest. Like, I need to move on with my life. Yeah. It was really beautiful.
It was the best moment for me of this episode as well. I just thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was really well done. And yeah, I feel like it's finally closing a chapter on Cheryl, and now she can move forward. Now she can deal with her mom singularly. She can hopefully get she can just go back to being a normal Cheryl. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens now that she doesn't have to deal with the dead body anymore.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment, I definitely agree with Becca. Like the FP shooting was pretty crazy. Yeah. But I think I'm gonna give it to Veronica's dancing and Archie's fight at the same time. Like I was like, guys, really? Like, are we really going back to this? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My WTF moment is gonna be Jughead announcing that Grandpa Jones ran away once again. Where the fuck did this guy go? He was here for 20 seconds. The more that I talk about it with you, the more I feel like you're probably right. He's probably going to come back. And maybe he didn't run away. Maybe he got kidnapped or something.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
MVP, I'm going to have to say Hiram, because
you
know what, he patented that shit. He was smart about that. And and I think I'm okay with him outsmarting her, because he is the adult, he is the dad.
Yeah,
like he's had years of experience. Like, she is literally 15 years old, like running a speakeasy. Like, fine, like, you're cool, but like no. Like,
if he doesn't you're totally right. If he doesn't figure this out and she does, then you're a
loser. Like, no wonder you went to jail for like embezzlement and like fraud, because like you didn't have your shit together.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that as MVP. All right. My MVP is gonna go to Cheryl for closing up her storyline.
Oh, for sure.
And really like trying to resolve this on her own, and even the whole thing with Penelope. Maybe that is the best approach right now. She doesn't have to kill her, but maybe she can try to heal her.
LVP.
What was your LVP?
My LVP is gonna go to FP. And it's really kind of because I feel like he started this journey with Archie, and that was cute. It was going good, but still, like, you led him down the wrong path, and then you got your ass shot, and then you didn't even check up on him when he like almost went and killed someone else. I just felt like he started this cool storyline, but then he couldn't finish it. Which I feel like is his downfall a lot of the times. Like, he doesn't see things through.
For sure.
And he's just a shitty, like, anyways, whatever, sheriff, but whatever.
Can't even go there.
I can't go there.
My LVP is gonna go to Alice for answering the phone, because I was like,
that
girl,
was so dumb. She's literally like,
Betty's literally telling you as you're talking, being like, do not answer the phone. There's somebody trying to hypnotize people. She's like, She's like,
oh, the phone.
Click. Like, she just went straight to the phone. Idiot.
The best line.
Who was your best line?
My best line goes to Hiram when he says, I hope the song and dance was fun, because at midnight you turn back into a pumpkin. Cenicienta. And I was like, yeah, you tell her. You know what? I think because she annoyed me so much, his rebuttals were so lit for me. Like, I was like, you tell her, Dad. You tell her, because you're the dad.
You teach your daughter.
Yeah, and he's basically calling her Cinderella, because it's true. Like, she is a princess. Let's not get it twisted. She is a working girl, but at the end of the day, she is daddy's girl. She's a princess, and she can be a little annoying. So
my best line is gonna go to Archie, because I hope that this realization, if this doesn't bring him back, then I don't know what is. He says, I've never felt further from my dad than I do now. And I was like, okay, if you're realizing this, hopefully this'll bring you back.
It was
if
cute.
Not, then
it was a nice
I don't know. We'll see.
But I have no faith in him, so that like he is saying these like really cool things, but like I'm like, but you're still Archie.
But what exactly? What's your story?
Yeah.
That is the end of the episode, guys. Thank you for your comments. That is the mid-season finale of the season. So we're going to be on hiatus for a little bit of time. But before we close off this episode, we have a few announcements. The first one is we have our contest going on right now, as I mentioned, to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, all you need to do is rate and comment on our iTunes page, and you'll be entered in the draw. We're extending this contest to the very end of the season, so you have a bit of time to enter. And it's easy. Just do it, and you'll be entered in the draw. And we are going to pull a name at some point in time. So someone will win this situation. And the pool is smaller. This is not like the lottery where it's like 1 in a million. It's going to be like 1 in 10. So your chances will be high if you just send us a comment and rate us. I would like to take some time to thank our patrons of the episode. We have our Rewinder squad. We have White, Nicole, and we got a brand new one this week, Faith. Thank you so much. And we have our Lit Rewinders, of course, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Slay, Kate, and Jessica. And finally, but not the least, that was said wrong, but that's okay, Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things recap, rewind, exclusive content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and you can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. This is our final Riverdale podcast of 2019.
Yeah, oh my God.
Thank you guys so much for listening. All this year has been amazing for us, as you obviously know. We're just growing and being amazing, and we're doing this content, and it's truly for you guys. We get enjoyment out of it, of course, but also we always want to make sure that you guys are happy with what we're producing. So thank you so much always for your comments and your engagement this last year. It's been amazing. Thank you. NB, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just Happy New Year, and we're excited to keep doing what we're doing for you guys in the coming year. And
yeah,
I
keep
think
an eye out.
Riverdale returns January 22nd.
Oh,
so it's like a full month, almost longer than a month. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll pull some stuff together for you guys. Don't worry. Keep an eye out for us. We'll be pulling some content. There's some new shows that are starting up that I might need to touch base with NB to see if we're gonna maybe do them. So just keep an eye on our channels, and that's it. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.